welcome to the Momversation Club, the podcast born out of the idea that every mum needs a tribe. I'm Claire Strong.
And I'm Christina Struckmeyer. We're two moms just like you, navigating the chaotic, challenging, and often isolating world of motherhood.
Now, it's said that it takes a village to raise a child, but in today's crazy world, we want to know, where the F is that village?
Yeah, it's a question that resonates with so many of us who find ourselves raising children, managing careers, and trying to maintain our own identities, often with a sense of isolation.
It's a lot, but we're here to remind you that you're not alone. The Momversation Club is your village, a place where you feel valued, appreciated, and understood.
We believe that by sharing our own experiences, successes, and struggles, that we can create a virtual village for all you amazing mamas out there.
So join us every week for a real, raw, and relatable discussion about all aspects of being a mum, including the things you just can't talk about with anyone else.
So if you've ever asked yourself where the F is the village, well, you've found your tribe. Let's get into it.
Hi, Christina.
Hey, Claire, how are you?
I'm good. It's really warm in my room where I'm recording right now. Really
Getting a little bit of a sauna situation over there.
Yeah, exactly. So for those of you that don't know, I have a real high-tech recording studio in the form of my 13-year-old's bedroom, hence all the, cute 13-year-old posters behind me of, I don't know, who we got? Madison Beer, Sabrina Carpenter, Taylor Swift, who else is here? Oh, Chapel Roan, is that how you say her name? So
Yeah, she's got good taste. I think Eva and I would get along when it comes to our Spotify list.
I think you would totally. Yeah, she's got good taste. But we have some new posters behind me, which are kind of funny. And I don't have the heart to rip them down because it's not my room ultimately. But it's just really warm in here because I daren't run the fan or the AC because I don't want the, noise to interfere with the podcast. So, so aside from a little toasty situation, I'm good.
You're also in like a full jean situation at your top for those who can't see us. And so... Yeah. It's contributing.
It is contributing. But I've got to say, this is actually pretty light. It's like a really thin material. It's a dress. You can't see it.
It's a super dress, cute.
So thank you. I appreciate it. I got it from England, actually. But, maybe I should have done like a sleeveless option kind of thing today. Anyhow.
I like a dress. It kind of brings us into today's topic because dresses are one of those things you can just throw on and it looks like you've got your shit together. But really, you just threw on a dress.
Yeah, there's only one thing to think about and it's an all-in-one. But I'll tell you what I'm wearing more and more of. Jumpsuits. I really like them.
Those are also the same thing. You step into it and then you're dressed.
Totally. I think they're really cute and flattering. So I am adding more and more of those to my repertoire. I didn't have any until about 6 months ago, and now I've got about 4. So yes. Well, what are we talking about today, lady?
Well, I was thinking about this topic today because this is my life, and as the school year started in the fall and things started getting into overdrive, I was reminded of my role here at home as a stay-at-home mom and how I keep the wheels on this mother because being a stay-at-home mom is kind of a whole thing in itself. And I was talking to other stay-at-home moms about the ways that I navigate it, and have a couple friends who are entering this season where they've had new babies and they decided that they're going to stay home for a little bit and take a pause on work. And they're like, Christina, share us with your ways. And I'm like, you know what? I have a platform and I will share among the masses of my ways and give you guys a knowledge of how, I at least have some semblance of my stuff together.
Hey, listen, so I kind of straddle that kind of life right now because I wouldn't class myself as a total stay-at-home mom because I'm working too. And obviously, hang on a second, we do this podcast, so that's work in itself. So you are working.
Yeah, I do have this podcast, but outside of this podcast, I'm not attending a job or clocking into a job during my day. It very much fits in the nooks and crannies. And so, as we chat about this and the me time that I get, if any, the me time's often with some of these projects and things that I'm passionate about, as I hope that stay-at-home moms are filling their me time with things for them. because this is for me. This is for me. This is for you. This is for you guys. But yeah, I also do have this work. So guess not a true stay-at-home mom, but I think most moms ride that line these days when it comes to that.
Okay, so let's talk about the difference for you personally, because you are in this is your stay-at-home mum era that you're in.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. Okay, we should get a t-shirt with that on. That would be so
I
good.
know, like in my stay-at-home mom era, it needs to be
Yeah.
oversized so I can wear my stretchy pants.
Oh, oh,
But
everything needs to be oversized. I'm a big proponent of oversized t-shirts.
yeah, but there's a lot
Um,
of women who are coming to this life because either whether they want to, like my friends, they're making a choice to do that just because their babies are young, or, financially with the cost of daycare and the rising cost of everything. A lot of people are choosing to come home to make sure that their finances balance for their families. And, you may be here by choice. You may be here because you had to do it because of the financial piece of it. But stay-at-home mom life it's a mixed bag.
mhm.
Talking to my friends about it, I talk about how it's really fulfilling because I often see, the work and the time and the energy I'm putting into my children. I see it in their growth and their learning, and but it also can be thankless. It can be joyful, but exhausting. It could be super entertaining, but also like stare at paint drying boring. And you have your children who are your biggest fans, and like, nobody kisses the boo-boos better than mom or gives the hugs better than mom. But also it can be extremely lonely. So there's being a stay-at-home mom can be really nuanced for people. And one of the things I really am passionate about is making sure that, the women in my life don't lose their friggin' marbles. And so there are some things that I do as a stay-at-home mom that I think could be general rules of thumb that maybe you might find helpful as someone who's either in that life right now or going into that life, or maybe you have someone nearby who needs to hear this and you share this with them.
Okay, so I want to ask you first of all, why are you a stay-at-home mum? So what because with the reason I ask this is because I know with your first daughter, your eldest, you did
Yeah,
work. And so with
I
your
did.
second one, Rennie, so you have seen both sides of this.
Yeah.
And so what went into the decision this time around with your second baby to stay at home?
Yeah, so with my first one, I had her and I was working in the advertising world for a newspaper. And I fully planned on coming back to that job. I had planned maternity leave. I, figured it all out. And when I got back from maternity leave, I had an opportunity to work from home for another advertising competitor. And so I did end up taking that and I worked from home, but much like an actual clock in, clock out situation for several years of my daughter's young life. And I kind of got to ride both of the stay at home mom and the working mom trains. I was never fully part of the stay at home mom culture because, I had to shove in my 9 to 5 job. My mom would come help me. And there was like some components of that. So I couldn't go to all the mommy and me and all of the stuff. But I also wasn't fully a working mom because I got to be at some of the things for my daughter. So I felt kind of in the middle. And then as
Mm,
she grew, I went back to a 9 to 5 job and kind of, did the daycare thing, figuring out the preschool schedule and the daycare schedule and, commuting and all the things. And then so for this one, when I got married, I married my husband and he is a rice farmer. And, he, with that life, it awards us a little bit of flexibility financially for me to be able to stay home and not have it hit us quite as hard as it would have in my first marriage.
mm,
So that flexibility and safety net allowed me to make a choice.
mhm.
Do I want to go back to work and find a job that I'm passionate about? I'm nearby a big city. I could easily do PR or something like that. Or do I want to stay home with her and ride those first 5 to 6 years, just being right here, being fully involved, and not having that balance of work life and stay at home mom life. So I chose the latter just because I wanted to spend that time with her. I know how fast it grows, how fast they grow because my older one's 8 years apart and it feels like she was 4 yesterday.
Yeah.
And so I felt like if I have the opportunity, why not go ahead and do it and be there for my youngest?
So, what do you love about being a stay-at-home mum, first of all?
Well, I love seeing her growth day to day. She's so smart and bright and fun. My second child's very easygoing. I think everybody has different temperaments of their children. And I think if I had like a wild, crazy, like different type of child, I might not have the same stay at home mom experience. But for her, she's really fun and easygoing and pretty chill, very social, loves people. And so it's been really nice. I really enjoy it. That being said, the first, I would say, year of it was really a struggle because I was trying to find my footing of getting out there and being social and trying to create some of the things I'm going to be talking about today. But
Mm.
it was really hard being a new mom, dealing with some postpartum depression, dealing with some anxiety, not wanting to be around people, being pretty irritated by people. It's hard to, I kind of found myself isolating. And as a stay at home mom, that can be
Mm.
really easy to do because you're not seeing people day to day. You're not leaving your home to go somewhere. And I found it really lonely. But as I'm getting into the toddler years, I feel like I'm coming out of a cave and I'm able to experience the positive pieces of stay at home mom.
Well, the other thing, just to note about your particular situation, Christina, you do live in the middle of nowhere.
I
It's
do.
not like, and this was a different situation with your first child as well, because you were, in a town, you had people around you. You're on a farm, miles from anywhere, and I know that life because I also used to live in a hunting lodge in
Yeah.
France in the middle of nowhere. So I get it. And it takes it's like quite the ordeal to get out of the house and to get places. And if you put a new baby in the mix and maybe you've got some postpartum depression or anxiety that you're dealing with, it
Yeah.
would be very easy in that situation to close yourself off because it's just easier practically. And also if you're struggling with your mental health and your emotional health, you might just think, you know what, I don't want to see anyone. And that can be a dangerous combination of factors, going forward and regarding your long-term mental health. So that's another
Yeah.
thing that you were dealing with this second child, the fact that you're physically isolated from people too.
Yeah, yeah, you have to really check on your mental health as a stay-at-home
Mm.
mom because you're not often around other people that are adults that will notice that,
Yeah.
especially if you have a or partner who's leaving the home for long periods of time. They're not
Yeah.
seeing what's happening on the ground here, and so you have to be really alert to that. Make sure that
Mm.
you're keeping an eye on yourself and making sure you're getting that communication with other adults and things, but yeah, it's been a different experience being away from everyone. And again, my experience is unique because it's me and my child's temperament. I also only have one stay-at-home mom child to attend to,
Mm.
versus maybe another stay-at-home mom might have three kids or two
Yeah.
kids or five. Like who knows what they're navigating. And so I'm going to be giving some tips, but it's like I always talk to my friends about when I give advice, it's always like when you're eating fish, you take the meat, spit out the bones. And so some of this stuff might apply to you. And some of the stuff you're going to be like, yeah, that's easy for you to say because you have one even tempered child. And so take the advice that fits and leave the rest.
Oh, I love that. I love the fish analogy, taking the meat
Yes.
and spitting out the bones. Okay, so let's go more into that then. So, what
Yeah.
tips and advice would you give another stay-at-home mum to maintain their sanity and help make this an enjoyable experience? Because I'll be honest, just before you go into this, I felt, and I'll talk about my own experience a bit later, but I was a stay-at-home mum when the girls were young for financial reasons. I actually felt that as much as I enjoyed aspects of it, it was a very thankless job. And I kind of felt that. Maybe I needed to have an attitude adjustment. So I am interested to hear your advice and your tips on how to make this as enjoyable as possible.
Well, and I will say to that, you're valid in that experience. Like, I think that it can be really hard. It can be really thankless and really isolating, and not everyone loves it. And you might try it and go, I freaking hate this, and might have to shift and navigate for your own sanity. I think everyone's different. But I think that leads into my first tip is that you freaking matter. Like
Mm,
you as a person, even though you are a stay-at-home mom and even though your job is kind of around this child or children, you still are a person, you still have needs, and you still matter. And so it's really important as a stay-at-home mom that, I wouldn't say put yourself first over others, but you too, like you also matter. So when you're serving your children breakfast, make sure you're not just drinking coffee and you need to eat breakfast too. And, getting ready for the day. There's been so many memes about moms who are in their sweatpants and like spit covered shirts, but their children look pristine. Almost like all the energy went towards getting that bow on Susie. You matter too. And so one of my biggest tips is just get ready for the day even if you're
mhm.
not going to see anyone. And getting ready doesn't need to be like full glam. You're going to like, an awards ceremony over here. Like it could be just throw on a t-shirt and shorts that aren't covered in, vomit. And brush your hair, brush your
Yeah.
teeth. If someone were to come to the door and give you a UPS box, would you be embarrassed to open the door? If so, go change.
That's a
Um,
great litmus test. Yeah, because, some days I haven't got myself ready because I'm not seeing anyone that day. I've just dropped the girls off at school and I'm working from home. But the same thing applies. If someone were to knock on my door, or if I were to see someone I know out, I would feel
yeah.
horrified. So you're right. I think maybe just, it doesn't mean that you have to do full face of makeup, but in my case, throw on a bit of mascara, make yourself look like less dead, basically.
Yeah, and it's not for other people. It's for you. It's
It's
for your
totally
mental
you,
health
yeah.
to say, me too. Like I also
Yeah,
should brush my teeth and get fed and drink water and girl, you're a house plant. Like you need to water yourself. And so
I
make sure
love
that you're
that.
putting yourself first in this stuff so that way you can pour into the other children that are around you. And it doesn't need to be this fancy smancy event, just something basic that makes you feel more human.
Okay, so that was your first bit of advice. Get yourself
Yes,
ready, look after yourself.
get
Okay,
ready.
what next? What else can we do if we're in
Okay.
the stay-at-home mum era to help us enjoy it and feel better about ourselves?
Yes. So my next tip is bring in some structure. So
Mm,
everyone is going to navigate this differently. Everybody has different personality types with structure. This could be time blocking. This could be a general schedule. This could be something where you aim to do this schedule a couple days a week and then other days are just chill days. But have some sort of schedule. For me, it helps me to know when are the times where I need to be most active and present with my child and alert and like being on the ground and playing with them. And when are the times where I can kind of like chill back a little bit, have some coffee, and when are the times where I'm completely off the clock and I can just, I don't know, decompress a little bit.
mm,
And so it's good for us as moms to have a schedule, but it's also good for our kids.
mm.
Children thrive, and I learned this with Stella, my oldest, who has autism. She has a visual calendar. And I noticed that when I went to the school for the first time and she started kindergarten, teachers have visual calendars because kids do well when they know what's next. And so for us, every day I wake up at the same time and every day I wake up the kids at the same time. Every day when we get back from school run, I fully, and this is like no ashamed of this, we have TV time. It is planned television screen time. I that being said, I make sure that I have like three options for her. At our house, it's Miss Rachel, Daniel Tiger, which is like a Mr. Rogers type show, and then also Sesame Street. And she gets to pick which one that day. But every day from 8:30 to 10, I'm putting TV on, and that is my go time for like figuring shit out around the house. Like, okay, the cereal's been left out. Somebody peed on the ground. We need to like, like I'm going through and I'm kind of just picking up from the morning chaos. I'm drinking a cup of hot coffee. I'm answering my WhatsApp messages for my best friend. Like I am using that time to kind of ready myself to be very present in just a bit. So that time is like already there. It's set aside. She knows it's coming. She actually gets excited for it and sits on the couch when she gets home. And, if I get done with my stuff early, I'll go in there and participate with her and watch the show with her. Because it's kind of downtime for me too. I'm like watching
It
Sesame
is.
Street with her.
Yeah, it's kind of relaxing. I remember those days. Yeah.
Yeah, and then from 10 to 11:30, that's my like mom of the year time. Like I can commit to 1.5 hours of being on the floor, reading the books, doing the flashcards. Maybe that day there's an outing. Usually like the play groups and the mommy and me's are at that time, like that 10 to 12 time. That is mom of the year time. That is the block of time where I wish a camera would come in here and see the amazing work I'm doing. Because for an hour and a half, I am so good at momming.
That's funny.
And then after that, we do some lunch, and then there is a planned nap time every day, 11:45 to 2. That is nap time. I do not care if she sleeps. She can stay in her crib and be pissed off. That's okay with me too. But that is a resting time for her and for me because I need that time to decompress from being mom of the year for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I need to maybe, I don't know, figure my own shit out. Maybe have some work to do. If you don't have work, maybe that's your hobby time because I believe every mom should have something outside of motherhood that brings them joy.
100%.
Yeah. And then so after that, she gets up from nap. We do a pickup run. And then again, for an hour and a half after both my kids are home, I'm mom of the year again for 1.5 hours. It's playtime and reading and homework time and being alert. And then after that 4:30 mark, I start meal prepping. I start getting dinner going. And the kids need to play by themselves over there. Get out of my kitchen, or if you're going to be in here, you're working. And so I'm putting you to work. I'm having you do something. But that is the block of time where I'm shifting over here. I'm no longer on the ground. That was the commitment from an hour and a half ago, and now we're here. And then, yeah, we do dinner and then bedtime routine, and she's out. So it doesn't have to be that specific and structured. Like that's very boom, 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 boom. But
So
you
I have
can
a
hear in
question.
that there's breaks for me, and then there's on times for me. And it's nice for me to be like, okay, I can be on for an hour and a half if I get a 2-hour break in just a minute.
So I have a question for you. Does this apply to weekends as well?
No, this is a weekday
Okay.
schedule.
Okay, that's good to know. So I'm thinking,
Yeah.
wow, that's kind of, I
No, this is
mean,
like a Monday through Friday situation.
okay.
Weekends, we usually have like a birthday party or somebody's doing something, or they're very flexible. And
Mhm.
oftentimes we do like pajama days once a week. I've talked about them on the podcast before, but that's where nobody gets dressed and we all just hang back and watch movies and play all day.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice.
We do
Yeah,
pajama days whenever there's no like party or anything to do.
hmm Yeah, I've seen photos of those. They look fun. Okay, so that basically, to characterize that tip is structure. Have structure.
Have some
Whatever that
structure.
structure looks like for you, whatever works for
Yeah.
you. Yeah, okay.
And with that, I will be fully disclosure. Like the reason I can talk to you right now and I don't have a little person right here is because I do have help. And so that is something I want to mention is that while you're creating your structure, if there are opportunities for help, which sometimes there aren't. But if there are, like take them. So if your mom's like, or if grandma's like, hey, I'd love to spend time with little so and so, maybe having that be an ongoing thing. Like, oh my gosh, mom, that'd be great. What about every Monday morning you take her? Like, and that's
Mm,
you and grandma time. Some people don't have that relationship with family. Maybe they don't have that. If you're able to trade childcare with a friend, like maybe having toddler days every other week at your friend's house who's down the street or something, if you're okay with that, um, be creative. But if you can get help, take it, is my advice for that.
hmm. I love it. Okay, anything
Yeah.
else springs to mind?
Um, so create structure. And in
Hmm.
that, I would say a big thing is get the hell out of the house if you can.
Yes.
Um, the
Yes.
house, it looks the same every day. It smells well, I don't know if it smells the same because sometimes kids, but it has this, it's like being stuck in the static environment. And
Yeah,
if you don't leave for a couple days, it can feel like you don't even know what day it is. Like it's a time warp. And
it is.
so it's really important, like you were talking about in the beginning, like it can feel really isolating and draining and tiring if you are not leaving that house and not talking to any grown-ups. You're not getting into a car and driving somewhere. Like it can feel really monotonous and almost like unbearably monotonous if you don't leave.
Yeah, especially if you haven't got school age kids. If you're dealing
Yes.
with children that are younger, you may not necessarily have to be somewhere. And because of that, it can end up that, day 2 rolls into day 3 and you haven't left the house. Say the weather's not great. I know I lived
Yeah.
in England most of my life, and even in France, the weather's not great in the winter. So if you don't have to go, you're probably, going to take the easier option and stay at home. But then that bleeds into several days sometimes where you may not see anyone, and that's just a recipe for depression and an unhealthy mental state.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
totally am a big advocate for getting yourself out. And even if it may not be that you're actually meeting up with somebody, but you could go and take a walk, put the baby in the stroller or whatever, go and take a walk to the park, go to the shop. It may not be that you're necessarily meeting up with a person, but you're going to see people. You are going to interact with people. If you go
Yeah.
and have a takeout coffee, you've got to talk to the barista to order your coffee.
Yes.
So it just
Yes.
working out forces you, whether you want to or not, to socialize. And also, I will say something that's been great for my mental health for as long as I can remember, in addition to Pilates, which is something I've talked about a lot on the show, I love to do, walking. If you're able
Mm.
to walk, it's free. And me just being outside is something else. I would much rather get my cardio from doing a pretty brisk walk for 40 minutes and going to the gym. I just feel my mental
Yeah.
state so much better. You're out in the fresh air, maybe you can get a little bit of sun while you're out there. So yeah, I would encourage any mums who are in their stay-at-home era to make sure that you're getting outside, and especially if you can incorporate that with some kind of physical activity for you, because that releases endorphins. You feel so much better. I mean, in my first marriage, Christina, I would walk every day, and that was my time to process what was going on. Because my first marriage obviously ended.
Yeah.
Um, and I had a lot of stress when I was a stay-at-home mom. I had a very stressful environment, and my marriage wasn't going well. I was isolated. Um, I was basically, it was the worst combination actually, Christina, because, a situation where you're married, but you may as well be on your own. It would be easier and less stressful. So I was in that situation for a number of years. And so my walks were literally my therapy session. I would leave the house feeling so overwhelmed, so unhappy. And then when I got back from the walk, my situation may not have changed, but my mindset certainly had. And then
Yeah.
in recent years, literally just in the last year, really, I have got much more into mindfulness and, even things like, I know it sounds silly, but ASMR. There's so much at our fingertips now on YouTube or, on social media. Even if you've just got a 5 or 10 minute block, do something that relaxes you and puts you in a good space mentally. There are so many great meditation apps. And so it doesn't have to be that you have to even spend money on, your mental health as a stay-at-home mum, but just making sure that you are, breathing. I know this sounds silly, but taking some deep breaths and just maybe having 5 minutes where you are listening to something that's meditative or whatever it may be. I
Yeah.
wish someone had told me that when I was a stay-at-home mom, because aside from my walking, I didn't really have these tools at my disposal.
Yeah, I agree completely, 100%. And also, just getting back to the environment that you were in, when you are a stay at home mom, you are very isolated. You are kind of just with this little bubble of people. And if you are in a situation like you were in, or, other women I know have been in, sometimes your marriage isn't healthy either. And
Yeah,
so it can be really hard on your mental health to be in that small bubble alone with no other adults. And then the other adult that's in the partnership with you is not a true partner, and
yeah,
sometimes even like an adversary. And so it's really important that you get out, not only for those walks and stuff, but also with other people and connecting. Because it's important for you to have other people in your world. The thing
mm,
about, we've talked about like abuse and things like that on this show. a lot of stay-at-home moms fall prey to that because they're in this very small bubble, and because they don't have a lot of people to talk to, that becomes like their own like thing that they have. Like they're not sharing that with other people, and they may not share that with family. And so it's important to get out and talk to people. And like you said, the financial piece of it, getting out for a walk is free. There's also a lot of other free stuff you can do as a mom to get out of the house. In our area, we have like a library story time. And the library is actually very much a hub for a lot of different community, like craft projects and special times and reading things and reading programs. And so your local library might have some free stuff for you. There's community events. So like on Facebook events, if you go to your local Facebook and put in your zip code, sometimes they'll show like little fairs or craft, things that you can walk through, or special events that people like organizations that are for children are hosting, and that'll show up. A park, like just going to a park, packing a lunch so that you're not going out and grabbing something afterwards for financial reasons, like that's helpful. Splash pads, community pools, like there's just so many things. Every area has what's called a first five, and that is a organization that's for 0 to 5 children. And they usually have like a listing of things like this that parents can go do with their kids 0 to 5 to enrich them and help them. So along with getting out of the house for your mental health, this also helps you make friends. And I've made friends from, library story time. And now I have like an ongoing play date with that friend every Thursday. And every Thursday I go to her house and she makes breakfast for us and we have coffee and we let our kids run amok. And it's wonderful. It's a nice little touchstone to my week where I get to have friend time on top of being with my kid. So it's helpful to connect with other moms and be out there, but also like, being out there for you too, for you to get out of that house, get out of that time warp. Cause it can be like Groundhog's Day. Every day can look exactly the same and you're just cleaning up the same mess, and it can drive you crazy.
It can. So I want to just add one of my lived experiences as a tip, and you just touched upon it. Try and make friends with other mums who are in that era with you, because then it doesn't feel like it's just you. And quite often I
Yeah.
remember chatting with my like mum friends who were in that same space as I was, and maybe their day's going a lot worse than yours. And so, not that I wish that on anyone, but the point is, if you're sharing experiences, you don't feel as isolated. You're like, oh my God, well, they had a nightmare as well. Their kid just like had a full on tantrum. They haven't slept last night either. It's not just me. And
Yeah.
so that would be one of my biggest tips. Try and find someone who is in your stage of life. And you know what? Sometimes those friendships last and evolve. Sometimes they don't. I mean, I think lots of friendships have their seasons. I have mums that we're friends with in that season, and we haven't had a fallout, but then life takes you in different ways and we haven't stayed in touch. Conversely, one of my best friends, Anna, I met her during that stage of my life, and we are, even though she's in England, we talk most days on WhatsApp, and she is my best friend. And so, yeah, I would say if there's one thing
Yeah.
that I would really encourage any stay-at-home mum is to find your tribe. And by tribe, I mean women that are in a similar situation, because it really does make you feel as if you're not alone and that there are other people that get it and it's going to be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll usually find in that crowd, there's always one like overachiever, like talkative mom who like wants to talk and and gather. And so that's usually me. But
Oh my God, are you that annoying mum who makes
I
everyone
am
else
I am the
feel
mom
like
that's like,
crap?
well, I'll notice, like, hey, I noticed you weren't here last week. Are you okay? Like, was your kid sick? Or like, I try to check up on the other moms because I was in that big pit of despair that first year, and I wish that I had had like a mom to reach out and be like, hey, I'm noticing you're not showing up, and are you okay? Like, I want to be that mom for others, and so, yeah, I think if you're a little bit introverted, just show up, just participate. Somebody will adopt you, a more extroverted friend. You'll find your community. But gosh, okay, so getting outside, creating structure, you can hear all of this stuff like, finding hopefully a path here with you and your environment, listener. But the biggest thing I think that makes stay-at-home momness okay for me is I treat my stay-at-home mom job as a job. because it is one. Like, it's unpaid, but gosh, if you were to add up, and we've talked about this before, if you were to add up all the things that we do as stay-at-home moms, it would be quite the payday for us if we were to hire it out. And I have a friend who's recently divorced, and she has her ex-husband, and he's like, well, what am I supposed to do if I don't get out of work by this time? And she's like, well, there's an after-school program that you can pay for. And you can pay a nanny to pick up the kids and then transport them back home. And she's talking about all the ways that he's going to have to outsource that
Mm,
situation. And it's like, it's costly because there isn't that person who just does it. Um,
mm,
so, yeah, we have a job and it is purposeful and it matters. It does. And you're not just a stay at home mom, you are a stay at home mom. Not
mm.
just, you just, that's what you're doing. And so, how that looks in our house is I kind of, I joke sometimes because like I'll have a night where maybe shit hit the fan and I did
Yeah.
not clean up the kitchen and like reset myself, and I go, who the hell closed last night? Like she was crazy. So I treat my stay at home mom job like a job where I have a closing up process of like resetting for the day. You know, when it comes to housework and things like that. After the kids are in bed, I take about 30 to 45 minutes to kind of just pick up the chaos a little bit, tidy up, put the dishes in the dishwasher so that, you know, future me has the gift of that close up. Sometimes that girl doesn't know what she's doing and doesn't do it, but like most days. And I have a clock out. Like you've noticed in my schedule, I have times where I clock in and clock out.
Yeah.
um, it's important that I do that. Otherwise, I feel like I'm failing all of the time. Because if I'm
Mm.
always supposed to be present and I'm always supposed to be doing the meal planning and I'm always supposed to be doing all the laundry and all the dishes, and how am I going to always do all that stuff? Like, I feel like so many stay at home moms feel this pressure to do all of the things all of the time, and that's just not feasible. And so for me, I treat it like if this were a job and I had a boss who was going to come home and give me a fail or pass, like how would I break up my day? And that's where I've come with that schedule of like, okay, for an hour and a half, I can be really present and work with her. And then during the nap time, maybe I'll clean up midday that playroom because it's freaking chaos in there. It's like a war zone. It looks like a tornado hit it. You know, doing that halfway through the day and then the close up. And I kind of have these little check-ins with myself of like, how you doing mentally, girl? How's the house looking? Like, how's the kid? And I have these times where I can kind of pull back from being so present, so available to my kid and be like, okay, what do I need? Like, what do I need for my work? What do I need for the housework? All the other things that are on my belt outside of taking care of child.
So I got sent this fantastic text by my friend this morning, and I was just listening to what you were saying, Christina, and I think this kind of ties in. So this is the analogy. You are holding a cup of coffee when someone comes along and bumps into you or shakes your arm, making you spill your coffee everywhere. Why did you spill the coffee? Because someone bumped into me. Wrong answer. You spilled the coffee because there was coffee in your cup. Had there been tea in your cup, you would have spilled the tea. Whatever is inside the cup is what will spill out. Therefore, and this is the great bit, when life comes along and shakes you, which it does, whatever is inside you will come out. It's easy to fake it until you get rattled. So we have to ask ourselves, what's in my cup? When life gets tough, what spills over? Joy, gratitude, peace, and humility, or anger, bitterness, victim mentality, and quitting tendencies. Life provides the cup. You choose how to fill it. Today, let's work towards filling our cups with gratitude, forgiveness, joy, words of affirmation, resilience, positivity, and kindness, gentleness, and love for others. So, a little long winded, but you get the message there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and I feel that this kind of plays into what we've been talking about today, because if I could go back and talk to the stay-at-home mum me of 10 years ago, I would have encouraged her to just be in a better mental space for herself so that what didn't spill out was, you know, bitterness about my situation, frustration about my situation. And so Yeah, I just thought I'd share that because that really hit home to me this morning when my friend texted that quote.
I love that. I love that, and I think that we need to be okay with being not okay,
Hmm.
and sharing when that's happening, and figuring out a new way to be okay. I have a saying that everything is figure outable. We'll figure it out.
Hmm.
Everything is figure outable. If this isn't working, we'll rework it. We'll rework it again. We'll rework it a fifth time. We'll find a way to make it work. And I think that as stay-at-home moms, you have to have that mentality, because what might be working one week might not work the next week, because your kid changes so much as they grow. You're changing, you're
Hmm.
growing. Like, there's just so much stuff. And if you're trying to hold on to stuff that you were doing 2 months ago that was working, and you're not in that place anymore, your kid's not in that place, or maybe it just never was all that good in the first place, you're going to build that resentment. You're going to build that anger and that frustration, and it's going to spill out, like you talked about with the cup.
It
And
is.
so, if left unchecked, you can absolutely be brewing that, brewing coffee, tea, but you can
Yeah,
be brewing that upset. And I feel like a lot of women have that, and it's valid. Like, there's a lot of times where I do feel resentful and jealous and frustrated. I get a lot of jealousy sometimes when I see my husband leave for the day, and I've had maybe a string of hard days,
yeah,
where my kid's been teething and not napping that great, and I'm tired, and I go, well, must be nice. Like, must be nice to leave and have everything taken care of at the house. And, but I try to rework that in my brain and go, I'm providing a job and a service so that he's able to do that. And we
mm,
talk about that. I think the big reason why I don't harbor as much resentment and as much anger and as much frustration is not because I'm this fucking perfect unicorn of a stay at home mom. It's because my husband's a good partner. And
mm,
one of the things, speaking of treating this like a job, that my husband and I do is we treat parenting like a business transaction.
mm,
We have a shared calendar where we communicate where he's going, what I'm doing, how his day is going to look, what my day is going to look like. We discuss what's working and what isn't when it comes to our personal marriage, like he and I, and then also with the kids. We have a morning brief during, breakfast time. We talk about, here's what's on the calendar, what do you got going on, what do I have going on. And at the end of the day, when I'm shutting down the kitchen, my husband isn't just like, F you, like, have fun, stay at home mom wife. He comes and sits with me or helps me, and we shut down together, and then we go enjoy our adult time after that, and it helps me feel seen and valued. And I think that that's not always available to every woman. That's not always available to every person that's a stay at home mom. Your partner may not be that supportive, but if you have a husband who's willing, maybe even implementing some of that, communicating with your partner and saying, like, whew, things are really hard right now. I'm going to need help here, here, and here. Or, oh, I really need a break. Like, I can feel myself starting to kind of feel, trapped and
mm,
enclosed and isolated, and I need to go to a girls' night, or I need to just go drive somewhere, get a cup of coffee, and have no one touch me for 5 seconds.
mm-hmm.
Um, Communicate with your partner so that when you're navigating your day, you're not spilling out all that anger and frustration at your children. Because the whole point of you being a stay-at-home mom, I hope, is for them, and it's for being with them, it's for helping them. You have children with the notion that you want to take care of them, and you want them to have that love, and you want them to have that support. And if you're constantly resentful and pissed off and angry, they're feeling
Mm-hmm.
that. And so, but you can't just like bring in excitement and joy and all that stuff without looking at what's making that happen. Like, what's happening within me that's causing that frustration, and how can I alleviate that?
Yeah, I totally agree. And a final tip from me, take help when it's on offer. Don't be
Yes.
too proud to take help because I've been known to, I still do it now. My husband, he is busy, he is away a lot, so he's not always present to help me in a parenting capacity. But sometimes he will say, how can I help you? And my knee jerk reaction will be, oh, no, it's fine, I've got it. And by I've got it, I mean that I am running around like a chicken with its head cut off, like dropping balls everywhere, but
So
I'm
true.
doing it all myself. But I'm doing it all myself. And so please, 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 if help is on offer, take it. Do not be proud. just take it. I promise you will feel better and less stressed and less exhausted if you take help that's on offer.
Yeah, there's no trophy for doing it all without any help, like as a
Nope.
strong warrior. Like, that's not helping anyone. And so, yeah, definitely don't be proud. And what I'll say too is there's this notion of like cherish every minute because you're at home, right?
Yeah.
There's this sense of, especially, I feel like because I've been a working mom, I don't have it as much because I know what the other side looks like. But for women who haven't been a working mother and haven't navigated that before, it could be easy as a stay-at-home mom to feel almost like a sense of, I'm so I like you feel bad. Like you're like, I'm sorry I get to stay home. I should cherish every single minute because these other women don't have the opportunity to be home. And I should be thankful and I should be grateful. But I will say, not every minute is to be cherished. Some minutes can suck a goat. You know, I feel like some minutes can be not ever spoken of again. I mean, I definitely wasn't cherishing the moment when my daughter peed in the freaking couch cup holders and I had to Lysol it out. I wasn't cherishing the moment where we were potty training and she pooped and didn't make it to the potty and it just trailed over the entire living room. Was not cherishing those moments. It is okay to not cherish every moment as a mom, whether you're a working mom or a stay-at-home mom in general. But I feel like as stay-at-home moms, sometimes we get this thing where it's like, if I don't cherish every moment, I'm doing this wrong. And that's not the case. Also, I've spoken about all these different rules and things, and like, I have this and I have that and I have this structure. Sometimes it's okay to bail. It's okay to be like, today's not the day. Sometimes my kid wakes up and it's just, she's kind of being an asshole. I'm going to be honest. She's kind of an asshole sometimes. And I'm like, today's not the day for mommy and me. It's not. I'm going to just survive today. And like, that's going to be the goal. Like today's goal is survival. We're going to do things at a level that everybody can survive and make it to the end of the day. And that'll be a good day. These other places of, that I'm speaking to are on days where everybody's freaking agreeable. But sometimes you have to bail on the plans and you're not going to die if that happens. It's okay to bail. It's okay to not cherish every moment. And it's okay to have screen time. No one ever died from screen time. Like just survival is the key with stay-at-home mom life.
And that brings us to the end of another episode of the Momversation Club.
And if you've enjoyed today's show, which we hope you have, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a review. Your support helps us reach even more moms and build a stronger village.
Until next time, bye from us.